Jake Morrison stood in the center of the Great Hall. The room was huge, bigger than any building he had ever seen on Earth. Strange lights floated in the air without any wires or support. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that changed colors every few seconds. This was the Galactic Council chamber where 12 different alien species made decisions for the entire galaxy. Jake felt small in this place. He was just a human from Earth, wearing his best blue suit and trying not to look nervous. Next to him stood Lisa Grant, a tough woman who had been a soldier for many years. She wore a black uniform with no decorations, but her eyes were sharp and always watching. On his other side was Pete Collins, a quiet man with gray hair who smiled a lot. Pete was an engineer, someone who built things and fixed problems. The three humans had traveled for 6 months to reach this place. They came with one simple request. They wanted Earth to join the Galactic Defense Alliance. This was a group of planets that worked together to protect each other from danger. Jake thought it was a good idea. Earth was still new to space travel, and there were many things they did not know about the galaxy. Around them sat the representatives of 12 alien species. Each one looked different and strange. The Zephyrians looked like giant insects with 4 arms and big eyes. Their skin was green and shiny like metal. The Nexari were made of living crystal that sparkled and changed colors when they moved. The Adi Depth Lords came from water worlds and looked like large fish with arms and legs. They had to wear special suits filled with water to breathe. Jake had studied all these species for months before coming here. He knew their languages, their customs, and their history. He thought he was ready for this meeting. He was wrong. When Jake finished reading his prepared speech about Earth's desire to join the Alliance, the room became very quiet. Then, slowly, strange sounds began to fill the air. The Zephyrians made clicking noises with their mouths. The Nexari flashed bright colors. The Depth Lords made bubbling sounds in their water suits. Jake did not understand at first, but Lisa's face went red with anger. They were laughing. The Zephyrian representative, a tall female named Velthara, stood up. She was almost 3 meters tall, and her 4 arms moved as she spoke. Her voice came through a small machine that translated her words into English. "Humans," she said, and the word sounded like an insult. "Your species has been flying in space for only 200 years. We have been traveling between stars for over 10,000 years. You are like children playing with toys." She pointed one of her arms at Jake. "Your biggest spaceships are powered by burning chemicals. Our ships use the power of stars. Your weapons are simple explosives. Our weapons can destroy entire planets." Other aliens began to speak up. A Nexari delegate flashed angry red colors. "Humans cannot even leave their own solar system without taking years to travel. We can cross the galaxy in days." A Depth Lord gurgled something that the translator turned into words. "These creatures are made of soft flesh. They die if they get too hot or too cold. They need air to breathe and water to drink. How can such weak beings help defend the galaxy?" Jake tried to speak, but Velthara held up one of her hands to stop him. "There is a great danger coming," she said. "The Korthak Empire is preparing for war. They have weapons that can attack from other dimensions. They can appear anywhere without warning. Their ships are invisible to our sensors until they attack." She walked closer to Jake. Her big eyes looked down at him like he was a bug. "The Korthaks have destroyed entire civilizations. They have weapons that can tear holes in space itself. They can make their ships exist in multiple dimensions at the same time. What could humans possibly do against such power?" Jake felt his heart beating fast. He had prepared for many possible responses, but not this level of contempt. He looked at Lisa, who was standing very still. Her hands were closed into fists, but she said nothing. Pete was still smiling, but his eyes had gone cold. "We may not have the most advanced technology," Jake said, trying to keep his voice steady. "But humans are good at solving problems. We learn quickly. We adapt. We never give up." This made the aliens laugh even harder. The Zephyrians' clicking became so loud it hurt Jake's ears. The Nexari flashed so many colors it was like looking at fireworks. Even the normally quiet Depth Lords were making loud bubbling sounds. "Adapt?" Velthara said. "You cannot adapt to weapons that attack from outside normal space. You cannot learn to fight enemies that exist in 7 dimensions at once. You cannot solve problems that require technology you do not even understand. Another alien spoke up. This one looked like a giant spider made of metal. Humans fight with gunpowder and metal bullets. The Korthaks fight with quantum energy and dimensional rifts. It would be like fighting a forest fire with a cup of water. Jake felt his face getting hot with embarrassment. Everything they said was true. Earth's technology was primitive compared to what he saw here. Human spaceships were slow and clumsy. Human weapons were simple, but something inside him refused to accept defeat. Maybe our technology is not as advanced as yours, he said. But we have something else. We have determination. We have courage. We have the ability to think of new solutions when old ones do not work. The laughter stopped suddenly. Velthara leaned down until her face was close to Jake's. Human, she said quietly. Courage cannot stop a quantum torpedo. Determination cannot protect you from a dimensional assault. New solutions cannot help you when your enemies can attack from 7 different realities at the same time. She stood up straight and looked around the room. The Galactic Council has made its decision. Earth's request to join the Defense Alliance is denied. Your species is not ready for the responsibilities of galactic defense. Perhaps in a few thousand years, when you have developed real technology, you can apply again. The other aliens made sounds of agreement. Jake felt like he had been punched in the stomach. All their hopes, all their dreams of joining the galactic community were being crushed in this moment. But as they prepared to leave, Pete Collins spoke for the first time since entering the chamber. His voice was quiet, but somehow it carried clearly through the huge room. You know, he said, still smiling, there's an old saying on Earth, never underestimate the quiet ones. They're usually the ones who surprise you. With that, the 3 humans turned and walked out of the chamber, leaving behind a room full of aliens who had no idea what they had just done. 3 months had passed since Jake Morrison and his team returned to Earth with bad news. The Galactic Council had rejected humanity's request to join their defense alliance. The aliens thought humans were too primitive, too weak, too stupid to help protect the galaxy. Jake sat in his office on Luna Base looking out at the stars through a thick window. He was still angry about what happened, but he tried to focus on his work. Earth needed to keep building relationships with other species, even if they would not accept humans as equals. Suddenly, his communication device started beeping with an emergency signal. The sound was sharp and urgent, the kind that meant something terrible was happening. Jake pressed a button to answer. "This is Captain Ryan Murphy aboard the UES Horizon," a voice said. The man sounded scared and out of breath. "We are in the Zephyr system observing trade routes. Something is happening here, something bad." Jake leaned forward. "What do you see, Captain?" "Ships," Ryan said. "Huge ships appearing out of nowhere. They are not like anything I've ever seen before. They look like giant metal whales, but with spikes and weapons all over them. They are attacking the Zephyrian home planet." Jake felt his blood turn cold. The Zephyrians were the insect-like aliens who had laughed at humans just 3 months ago. Their leader, Velthara, had been the loudest, voice-mocking Earth's primitive technology. "How many ships?" Jake asked. "Hundreds," Ryan replied. "Maybe thousands. They keep appearing from thin air. 1 second there is empty space, then suddenly there is a ship the size of a small moon. The Zephyrian defense fleet is trying to fight back, but their weapons are not working." Jake watched his screen as Ryan sent video of the battle. What he saw made his stomach hurt. The Zephyrian ships were firing their most powerful weapons at the invaders, but the energy beams were passing right through the enemy ships like they were made of air. Meanwhile, the strange whale-like vessels were shooting back with weapons that seemed to bend space itself. "The enemy weapons are not normal," Ryan continued. "When they fire, reality seems to twist. I can see buildings on the planet below melting, like ice cream. The Zephyrian orbital stations are just disappearing, not exploding, just vanishing like they never existed." Jake had read about these invaders in classified reports. They were called the Korthak Empire. According to intelligence gathered by human spies, The Korthax could exist in multiple dimensions at the same time. They could attack from angles that should not be possible, using weapons that worked outside the normal laws of physics. "Captain Murphy," Jake said, "get out of there now. Do not try to help. Just record everything and come home." "Too late," Ryan said. His voice was getting quieter. "They have seen us. 3 of their ships are coming this way. I am trying to run, but they are faster than anything should be able to move." The communication went dead. Jake immediately contacted Admiral Kate Sullivan, the commander of Earth's small space fleet. Kate was a tough woman who had spent her whole life in the military. She did not scare easily, but when Jake told her what was happening, her face went pale. "How long do we have?" she asked. "I do not know," Jake replied. "If the reports are true, the Korthax can travel between star systems in days, not months like our ships." Over the next 2 weeks, the news got worse and worse. The Korthak invasion was spreading across the galaxy like a disease. Every day brought reports of new worlds falling to their dimensional weapons. The Nexari crystal cities were shattered by attacks that came from inside their own buildings. The Depth Lords' underwater homes were boiled away by energy that somehow reached them through solid rock and metal. The spider-like mechanoids had their computer networks turned against them by viruses that existed in 7 dimensions at once. Jake watched the reports coming in from human observation posts scattered across the galaxy. The same aliens who had mocked humanity just months ago were now sending desperate messages begging for help from anyone who would listen. Velthera herself appeared on the emergency communication network. The proud Zephyrian leader who had called. Humans Primitive was now covered in dirt and speaking from some kind of cave or underground shelter. "This is Velthera of the surviving Zephyrian government," she said. Her forearms were shaking and her big eyes looked wild with fear. "Our homeworld has fallen. Our fleet is destroyed. The Korthax have weapons we cannot understand or fight against. They attack from dimensions we cannot even see." She paused and looked directly into the camera. "We are sending this message to all species in the galaxy. The Galactic Defense Alliance has failed. Our combined fleets were destroyed in less than a week. These invaders are not like anything we have faced before. They exist outside normal space. They can be everywhere and nowhere at the same time." Jake felt sorry for her, despite how she had treated him. No one deserved to see their entire civilization destroyed. The reports kept coming. Captain Lisa Grant, who had been with Jake at the Galactic Council meeting, was now stationed on a listening post near the Galactic core. She sent regular updates about the Korthak advance. "They are not just conquering," she reported. "They are erasing. Entire star systems are being removed from existence. Not destroyed, not conquered, but actually deleted from reality. My instruments show empty space where thriving worlds used to be." By the end of the 2nd week, half the galaxy had fallen. The remaining members of the Galactic Council were no longer making laws or holding meetings. They were running for their lives, trying to find somewhere safe to hide from an enemy that could attack from anywhere at any time. That was when the first message arrived at Earth. It was not a demand for surrender or a threat of invasion. It was something much more humbling. It was a plea for help. The message came from the Emergency Council of Surviving Alien Governments. The same beings who had laughed at human technology and called Earth's people primitive were now begging humanity to save them. "People of Earth," the message began, "we know we rejected your offer to join our alliance. We know we called you weak and unprepared. We were wrong. We need your help. The galaxy is dying, and you are our last hope." Director Alex Martinez walked through the long metal hallway deep underground. The walls were thick concrete painted white, and bright lights hung from the ceiling every few meters. This place was called Deep Site 7, and it was buried 3 kilometers under the mountains of Colorado. Very few people knew it existed. Alex had been the director of this secret facility for 10 years. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had seen many things that would surprise most people, but today was different. Today he was about to reveal the biggest secret in human history. The elevator took him down another kilometer. When the doors opened, he stepped into a room full of computers and screens. Men and women in military uniforms worked at the machines, watching numbers and charts that most people would not understand. This was the command center for Project Wraith, the most classified program on Earth. President Helen Carter was already waiting for him. She was a strong woman who had led the country for 3 years, but she looked worried today. Next to her sat General Chris Thompson, the head of the military space operations. Both of them had been told to come here for an emergency meeting, but they did not know why. "Alex," the president said, "we got your message about the alien invasion. The reports are terrible. Half the galaxy has been destroyed in 2 weeks. What can we do to help Earth defend itself?" Alex sat down at the head of the long table. He pressed a button, and the lights dimmed. A large screen on the wall showed a map of the galaxy with red marks showing where the Korthak Empire had attacked. "Madam President," Alex said, "what I am about to tell you will change everything you think you know about humanity's place in the galaxy." He pressed another button. The screen changed to show a picture of a strange metal object. It looked like a small spaceship, but it was twisted and broken. Parts of it seemed to fade in and out of view like it was not completely there. 32 years ago, Alex began, a farmer in Kansas found this object in his field. It had crashed during a thunderstorm. We told the public it was a weather balloon, but that was a lie. This was a scout ship from the Korthak Empire. General Thompson leaned forward. "The Korthaks were here 30 years ago?" "Yes," Alex replied. "They have been watching us for decades. But something went wrong with their ship. It got stuck between dimensions and crashed. The pilot died, but we were able to study the technology." Alex pressed the button again. The screen showed pictures of scientists working on strange machines in clean white rooms. "We learned that the Korthaks can travel between different dimensions. They can exist in our normal space and also in something called the 7th dimension at the same time. That is why other alien weapons cannot hurt them." President Carter looked confused. "But if we knew about this threat, why did we not warn the galaxy?" "Because," Alex said, "we discovered something amazing. Human brains are different from alien brains. We can naturally sense things that exist in multiple dimensions. The other species cannot do this. They see only 3 dimensions, but humans can feel when something is in the 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th dimension." He stood up and walked to the screen. "We spent 30 years studying that crashed ship. We learned how to build our own dimensional technology, but we made it better. The Korthaks can only shift between dimensions. We learned how to lock ourselves in multiple dimensions at the same time." General Thompson's eyes went wide. "Are you saying we have ships that can fight the Korthaks?" Alex smiled for the first time since entering the room. "I am saying we have ships that are better than anything the Korthaks have ever built." He pressed a button on his communication device. "USS Phantom, this is Deep Site 7. Please respond." A voice came from the speakers in the room. It sounded clear and strong, but also strange, like it was coming from very far away. "Deep Site 7, this is Captain Danny Brooks aboard the Phantom. We are currently in the 7th dimension, watching the Korthak fleet near the Centauri system." President Carter nearly fell out of her chair. "There is a ship in the 7th dimension right now?" "Yes, ma'am," the voice replied. "We have been watching the Korthaks for a week. They have no idea we exist. Their sensors cannot detect us because we are anchored in a dimension they cannot access." Alex turned to face the President and General. "The USS Phantom is not alone. Over the past 15 years we have built 12 ships like her. Each one is invisible to normal detection. Each one has weapons designed specifically to fight dimensional enemies." Dr. Amy Foster entered the room. She was a small woman with short black hair and thick glasses. She had been working on Project Wraith since the beginning. The key was understanding that humans are naturally dimensional beings, she explained. Other species evolved on single-dimension worlds, but Earth has always had weak spots where other dimensions touch ours. Humans evolved to sense these things. She pointed to her head. "Our brains have special cells that can detect dimensional shifts. We call it the 6th sense, but it is really a 7th dimensional sense. This is why humans sometimes feel like they are being watched when no one is there, or why we can sense danger before it happens." General Thompson shook his head in amazement. So while the aliens were laughing at our primitive technology, we were actually building weapons they could not even imagine? Exactly, Alex replied. We let them think we were weak and stupid. Meanwhile, our best scientists were working in secret to create technology that could protect not just Earth but the entire galaxy. President Carter stood up. How many people know about this? Less than 1,000, Alex answered. Everyone who works on the project has been carefully chosen. They all understand that this secret could save humanity, or destroy us if it falls into the wrong hands. He pressed another button. The screen showed a list of names and pictures. The crews of our dimensional ships are all volunteers. They have been training for years to fight in multiple dimensions at once. Captain Danny Brooks, Captain Megan Ross, Captain Tony Garcia, and 9 others. They are the best pilots and fighters humanity has ever produced. Dr. Foster stepped forward. The Korthax think they are the masters of dimensional warfare. They believe no one can challenge them. They are about to learn that they are wrong. Alex looked at the president. The galaxy is begging us for help. The same aliens who rejected us are now asking us to save them. What are your orders, Madam President? President Carter was quiet for a long moment. She looked at the screen showing the Korthak invasion spreading across the galaxy. She thought about the billions of alien lives that had already been lost. She thought about the Earth and how the Korthaks would eventually come here too. Contact our ships, she said finally. Tell them to prepare for battle. It is time to show the galaxy what humans can really do. Alex smiled and pressed his communication device again. All Phantom Fleet vessels, this is Deep Sight 7. You are authorized to begin Operation Ghost Protocol. Repeat. Operation Ghost. Protocol is now active. The voice of Captain Danny Brooks came through the speakers one more time. Deep Sight 7. This is Phantom Fleet. We understand. Ghost Protocol is active. Time to give the Korthax a surprise they will never forget. Captain Danny Brooks stood on the bridge of the USS Phantom. Everything around him looked normal at first glance, but nothing was truly normal about this ship. The walls had a strange shimmer, like looking at water from underwater. The windows showed stars, but they were not the same stars that people could see from normal space. Danny was a tall man with brown hair and calm blue eyes. He had been chosen to command the Phantom because he could think clearly under pressure. Today, that skill would be tested like never before. Around him, his crew worked at stations that would have confused any normal engineer. Lieutenant Lucy Stone sat at the sensor station. She was a young woman with red hair who could read dimensional energy patterns better than anyone else in the fleet. Her screen showed things that existed in 7 different dimensions at once. Captain, she said, I am tracking the Korthak invasion fleet. They are moving toward the Centauri system. Commander Frank Miller stood at the weapons station. He was an older man who had been fighting aliens in secret for 15 years. His job was to control weapons that could fire into multiple dimensions at the same time. All weapons are ready, Captain. The dimensional torpedoes are loaded and targeted. At the navigation station, Ensign Tim Baker watched numbers that showed their position in 7 different realities. He was barely 25 years old, but he could pilot a ship through dimensions that most people could not even imagine. We are holding position in the 7th dimension, sir. The Korthax cannot see us here. Danny looked out the window at the massive alien fleet below them. Hundreds of huge ships moved through normal space like giant metal whales. Each Korthak vessel was the size of a small city, covered with weapons and armor. They thought they were invisible and invincible. They were wrong. Signal the fleet, Danny ordered. All ships prepare for Operation Ghost Protocol. Across the 7th dimension, 11 other human ships received the message. Each one was commanded by a captain who had trained for this moment for years. Captain Megan Ross aboard the USS Spectre was watching a different part of the Korthak fleet. Captain Tony Garcia commanded the USS Wraith from a position above the enemy formation. 9 other ships were spread out in a perfect attack pattern. The USS Shadow was commanded by Captain Bill Hayes, a quiet man who never spoke unless he had something important to say. The USS Phantom II was led by Captain Nancy Turner, the only woman among the ship commanders. Captain Joe Martinez controlled the USS Ghost from his position near the enemy rear guard. Each captain was ready to fight and die to protect Earth and the galaxy. Danny opened a secure communication channel that connected all 12 ships. "This is Captain Brooks," he said. "Today we fight for more than just Earth. We fight for every world the Korthaks have destroyed. We fight for every alien species that thought we were too weak to matter. We fight to show the galaxy that humans never give up." The other captains responded one by one. "Spectre ready," said Captain Ross. "Wraith standing by," reported Captain Garcia. "Shadow prepared for battle," whispered Captain Hayes. One by one, all 12 ships confirmed they were ready. Down in Tazinbar, normal space, the Korthak fleet was preparing to attack the human colony on Centauri Prime. The alien commander, a creature called Overlord Kextai, stood in his command center looking at holographic displays. He was huge, even for a Korthak with thick gray skin and 6 arms that ended in sharp claws. Kextai had destroyed 1,000 worlds in his lifetime. He had never lost a battle. His ships could exist in multiple dimensions at once, making them nearly impossible to hit with normal weapons. His quantum torpedoes could erase entire planets from existence. He believed nothing in the galaxy could stop him. "Begin the attack on the human colony," he ordered his crew. "Show these primitive creatures what happens when they refuse to surrender." But before the Korthak ships could fire their first shots, something impossible happened. 12 human vessels materialized in the middle of their formation. The ships seemed to appear from thin air, but they were not completely solid. Parts of them flickered in and out of view, like ghosts made of metal and light. "What is this?" Kextai roared. His sensors could not get clear readings on the human ships. They seemed to exist in normal space and other dimensions at the same time. "How are they doing this?" Danny opened a communication channel that broadcast to every ship in both fleets. His voice was calm and strong as he spoke to the most feared commander in the galaxy. "Overlord Kextai," he said. "I am Captain Danny Brooks of the Earth Defense Force. You have destroyed countless worlds. You have killed billions of innocent people. You thought no one could stop you because you could hide between dimensions." Heo paused and looked at his crew. Lucy Stone was smiling as her sensors showed the confusion in the Korthak fleet. Frank Miller had his finger on the weapons trigger, ready to fire. Tim Baker was keeping the ship perfectly positioned for maximum damage. "You were wrong," Danny continued. "Humans have been watching you for 30 years. We learned your secrets. We built better weapons. We created ships that can do things you never imagined possible." Kextai tried to target the human ships with his most powerful weapons, but his targeting systems could not lock onto enemies that existed in 7 dimensions at once. "Impossible," he screamed. "No species has this technology." "Today you learned something new," Danny said. "Never underestimate humans. We may seem weak and primitive, but we have something you will never understand. We have the will to protect others no matter the cost." He turned to his weapons officer. "Commander Miller, you may fire when ready." Frank Miller smiled and pressed the firing button. "Gladly, Captain." The USS Phantom fired its first dimensional torpedo. The weapon traveled through normal space, then shifted into the 4th dimension, then the 5th, then the 6th, before striking its target in the 7th dimension. The Korthak ship had no defense against an attack that came from 7 different realities at once. The massive alien vessel exploded in a flash of light that could be seen across 7 dimensions. "All ships," Danny announced, "engage the enemy. Show them what the human spirit can do." The explosion lit up space like a new star being born. The massive Korthak dreadnought that had seemed invincible just moments before was now nothing but scattered metal and gas. Overlord Kextai stared at his screens in shock. In all his years of conquest, he had never seen one of his ships destroyed so easily. "How is this possible?" he screamed at his crew. "Our dimensional shields should have stopped any attack." His science officer, a smaller Korthak with nervous eyes, checked his instruments 3 times before answering. "Sir, the human weapon attacked us from 7 dimensions at once. Our shields only protect us in 3 dimensions. We have no defense against this." Around the Phantom, the other 11 human ships opened fire. The USS Spectre launched a spread of dimensional torpedoes that curved through space in impossible ways. The weapons seemed to bend reality itself as they flew toward their targets. When they hit, 3 more Korthak ships vanished in brilliant explosions. Captain Megan Ross smiled as she watched her targets disappear. Direct hits on all 3 vessels, she reported to the fleet. Their shields might as well be made of paper. The USS Wraith attacked from above, its weapons firing energy beams that existed in multiple dimensions at the same time. Captain Tony Garcia had positioned his ship perfectly to target the Korthak command vessels. Taking out their communications array, he announced as another enemy ship exploded. The Korthak fleet tried to fight back, but their weapons could not target the human ships. Every time they aimed at a human vessel, their targeting computers showed empty space. The Earth ships were there, but also not there, existing in dimensions that Korthak sensors could not reach. "They are like ghosts," one Korthak warrior shouted. "We cannot hit what we cannot see." Overlord Kextai realized that his mighty invasion fleet was being destroyed by 12 small human ships. Ships from a species he had planned to crush like insects. His 6 arms shook with rage as he watched more of his vessels explode. "All ships," he commanded, "fall back to Dimensional Phase 7. We will hide in the deep dimensions until we can figure out how to fight these humans." But as his ships tried to retreat into the 7th dimension, they found something waiting for them. The human vessels were already there, weapons ready. The USS Shadow appeared directly in front of the fleeing Korthak ships like a metal angel of death. Captain Bill Hayes spoke for the first time during the battle. His voice was quiet but deadly serious. "Going somewhere?" he asked over the radio. Then his ship opened fire with everything it had. The Korthaks were trapped. They could not fight in normal space because the human weapons were too powerful. They could not hide in other dimensions because the humans were already there waiting for them. For the first time in their history, the mighty Korthak Empire was helpless. Danny Brooks watched the battle from the bridge of the Phantom. His crew worked with perfect coordination, firing weapons and tracking targets with skill that came from years of secret training. Lucy Stone called out enemy positions while Frank Miller destroyed them one by one. Tim Baker kept the ship moving through dimensions like a dancer performing a deadly ballet. "Captain," Lucy reported, "the Korthak fleet is down to half strength. They are trying to retreat, but our ships have them surrounded in 7 dimensions." Danny nodded. It was time to end this. He opened a communication channel that would reach every ship in both fleets and also every listening post in the galaxy. What he said next would be heard by billions of beings across hundreds of worlds. "People of the galaxy," he began. "This is Captain Danny Brooks of the Earth Defense Force. For 30 years you thought humans were primitive and weak. You laughed at our simple technology. You rejected our offers of friendship and cooperation." He paused as another Korthak ship exploded behind him. "You were wrong about us. While you were building bigger guns and faster ships, we were solving the real problem. We learned that the greatest threats come from places you cannot see, from enemies that exist outside normal reality. Across the galaxy, alien survivors huddled in their hiding places and listened to the human captain's words. On what remained of the Zephyrian homeworld, Velthara heard the transmission in her underground shelter. Her forearms trembled as she realized that the species she had mocked was now saving her people. "Humans have a saying," Danny continued. "We prepare for the worst and hope for the best. For 30 years we prepared for this day. We built weapons you could not imagine. We trained soldiers you could not see. We created a fleet that exists in dimensions you did not know were possible. The battle was almost over. Only a few dozen Korthak ships remained, and they were surrounded by human vessels they could not fight or escape. Overlord Kextai's mighty dreadnought was damaged and helpless, its weapons useless against enemies that attacked from 7 realities at once. "Overlord Kextai," Danny called out, "you have a choice. Surrender now and live, or continue fighting and die. Your invasion is over. Your empire is finished. The galaxy is under human protection now." Kextai looked around his bridge. Half his crew was dead. His ship was falling apart. His fleet was destroyed. The species he had planned to conquer as an afterthought had defeated him completely. "I surrender," he said quietly. Danny nodded to his crew. "Cease fire," he ordered. "All ships cease fire." The shooting stopped. Space became quiet except for the soft hum of engines and the distant crackle of burning wreckage. The most feared invasion force in galactic history had been destroyed in 23 minutes. Jake Morrison received the news at Luna Base. The same man who had been humiliated by the Galactic Council 3 months ago was now humanity's ambassador to a galaxy that owed its existence to human courage and ingenuity. He opened a communication channel that reached every surviving world. "This is Ambassador Jake Morrison of Earth," he said. "The Korthak invasion has been stopped. Their fleet is destroyed. The galaxy is safe." He smiled as he thought about what to say next. "The Earth Defense Force offers protection to all peaceful species. We have been watching and learning for decades. We have technology you have never seen and weapons you cannot imagine. No hostile force will threaten this galaxy again while humans live and breathe." Across the stars, aliens who had once laughed at humanity now wept with relief. The primitive species they had rejected had become their saviors. The weak humans they had dismissed had proven to be the strongest defenders the galaxy had ever known. "Welcome to the age of human guardianship," Jake announced. "We will protect you not because you asked us to, but because it is the right thing to do. The galaxy is our home too, and humans always protect their home.